Can you hear sound in space? If you've ever watched a space movie, you might think the answer is yes, with all those dramatic explosions, roaring engines, and epic space battles filling the cosmic void with thunderous noise, but prepare to have every space movie you've ever loved completely ruined, because the reality is that space is the most perfectly silent place in the universe, and the reasons why will blow your mind. The short answer is no, you absolutely cannot hear sound in space. But the long answer reveals some fascinating secrets about how sound actually works, why Hollywood gets it so wrong, and what astronauts really experience when they're floating in the infinite silence of the cosmos. To understand why space is silent, we need to understand what sound actually is. Sound isn't some magical force that just exists. It's vibrations traveling through matter. When you speak, your vocal cords vibrate, which makes the air molecules around them vibrate, which makes the air molecules next to those vibrate, and so on. It's like a wave traveling through water, except instead of water, sound travels through air or liquid or solid materials. Here on Earth, we're surrounded by about 14.7 pounds per square inch of atmospheric pressure. That means there are trillions upon trillions of air molecules packed around us, ready to carry sound waves from place to place. When you clap your hands, you're literally pushing air molecules together, creating a pressure wave that travels at about 767 miles per hour until it reaches your ears. But space is a vacuum, which means it's essentially empty, not completely empty. There are a few stray hydrogen atoms floating around, maybe one per cubic centimeter in the emptiest regions, but that's virtually nothing compared to the dense soup of molecules we have on Earth. It's like trying to play telephone with one person standing in New York and another person standing in Los Angeles, with nobody in between to pass the message. A long dot without matter to carry the vibrations, sound waves simply cannot exist in space. It doesn't matter how loud the explosion is, how powerful the rocket engine is, or how dramatically the spaceship is flying by. If there's no medium for the sound to travel through, there's no sound, period. This is actually one of the most profound aspects of space, the complete and utter silence. Imagine the most quiet place you've ever been. Maybe a library at midnight or a forest covered in fresh snow. Now imagine something infinitely more silent than that. That's space. No background noise, no ambient sound, no whispers of wind or distant traffic. Just absolute, perfect silence that would drive most people insane if they experienced it for too long. But here's where things get interesting. While astronauts can't hear sounds traveling through space, they can still hear sounds inside their spacecraft and space suits. Sound can travel through solid materials just fine, and it actually travels better through solids than through air. So, if you knocked on the hull of the International Space Station from the outside, astronauts inside might be able to hear it through the vibrations traveling through the metal structure. During spacewalks, astronauts often report hearing mechanical sounds from their life support systems, the whir of fans, the hum of electronics, and the sound of their own breathing. These sounds travel through the solid components of their spacesuits or through the air inside their helmets. But the moment they step outside their spacecraft, they enter a realm of absolute silence. This creates some pretty surreal experiences. Astronauts have described watching massive solar panels unfurl in complete silence, seeing explosive bolts fire without a sound, and observing the delicate dance of spacecraft docking while hearing absolutely nothing from the outside world. It's like watching a movie with the sound turned off, except this movie is real life happening right in front of you. The silence of space has practical implications too. Without sound, astronauts can't hear approaching dangers. They can't hear if equipment is malfunctioning based on audio cues. They can't shout warnings to each other. Everything has to be communicated through radio, hand signals, or physical contact. This is why space communication systems are so sophisticated. Astronauts use radio waves, which are electromagnetic radiation, not sound waves. Radio waves can travel through the vacuum of space just fine because they don't need a medium. They're the same type of energy as light, just at a different frequency. When astronauts talk to each other during spacewalks, their voices are converted to electromagnetic signals transmitted through space and then converted back to sound inside their helmets. But here's something that might surprise you. While space itself is silent, it's not completely devoid of vibrations. Spacecraft can transfer vibrations through direct contact. If the spacecraft dock together, crew members on both vessels might feel and hear the contact through the vibrations traveling through the solid structure. It's not sound traveling through space, it's mechanical energy traveling through matter. NASA has actually recorded what they call sounds from space missions, but these aren't really sounds in the traditional sense. They're electromagnetic signals converted into audio frequencies that we can hear. For example, the Voyager spacecraft recorded electromagnetic emissions from Jupiter that, when played through speakers, sound eerily like whale songs or alien communications. But these sounds never existed as actual sound waves. They're electromagnetic phenomena translated into audio for our ears. The planets themselves create fascinating electromagnetic signatures. Saturn's radio emissions sound like ethereal music. When converted to audio, Jupiter creates radio bursts that sound like ocean waves or static. Earth itself generates electromagnetic signals that sound like chirping birds when played through speakers. But remember, none of these are actual sounds, they're electromagnetic radiation that we've translated into audio. Here's what really drives the point home. If the Death Star actually exploded in space like in Star Wars, the explosion itself would be completely silent from the outside. You might see the brilliant flash of light, the expanding cloud of debris, the shockwave distorting space itself, but you wouldn't hear a single sound. The most dramatic moment in cinematic history would happen in absolute, eerie silence. The same goes for rocket launches in space. When spacecraft fire their engines in the vacuum, the process is completely silent from outside the vehicle. Inside the spacecraft, crew members might hear vibrations from the engine transmitted through the structure, but outside, even the most powerful rocket engine produces no sound whatsoever. This silence has a strange psychological effect on astronauts. Many report that the absolute quiet of space creates an almost meditative state, but it can also be deeply unsettling. Humans are so accustomed to constant background noise that complete silence can feel unnatural and disturbing. Some astronauts describe space as feeling dead because of the absence of any audio cues that usually tell us the world is alive and active around us. But perhaps most fascinating of all is that this silence reveals something profound about the nature of the universe. In the vast distances between stars and galaxies, unimaginable cosmic events unfold in perfect quiet. Supernovas that release more energy than our sun will produce in its entire lifetime happen in complete silence. Black holes consuming entire solar systems make no sound. Galaxies colliding over millions of years create no noise whatsoever. The universe is fundamentally a silent place, filled with light and energy and electromagnetic radiation, but devoid of sound. We only experience the universe as a noisy place because we live on a planet with an atmosphere dense enough to carry sound waves. This also means that any alien civilizations out there would face the same challenges we do when it comes to space communication. They couldn't hear each other across the void any more than we can. They'd need to develop electromagnetic communication systems just like we have. The silence of space is a universal constant that affects all matter and all life everywhere. So the next time you watch a space movie with roaring engines and explosive battles, remember that you're watching pure fantasy. The real universe is far more subtle, beautiful, and eerily quiet than Hollywood would have you believe. In the actual cosmos, the most dramatic events unfold in silence, witnessed only by the electromagnetic spectrum and the patient eyes of anyone fortunate enough to see them happen. If this cosmic silence amazed you as much as it did me, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Astral Awe for more mind-blowing content about the real universe and how it actually works. Share this video with someone who needs to know the truth about sound in space. What surprised you most about the silence of the cosmos? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next stellar exploration.